Well, before we start this episode, I only feel it's proper to finally tell the people where you live. For everyone that wants to know, Kuno Star's address is. And all right, Brian, leave that address in. Welcome, welcome to another riveting episode of Speak Freely. I am, of course, Mr. Freely. I changed it up this time.
So
Freely today.
I'll be Mr. Speak, I
Call me
guess.
Mr. Speak. I'm Mr. Asper. Welcome to ASMR. I'm gonna tickle your ears real quick. Oh, tickling your ears. That's a thing, right? I mean, like, I'm not gonna. I know a lot of people genuinely use that to like help them sleep, and I go to sleep to sounds of rain. If I don't go to sleep with that, I don't sleep. It's weird. I just stay up on it, and so I get it. But there's a couple of weird ASMR videos. They're like there's like barbershop ASMRs, and there's like dungeon and like Dungeons and Dragons themed ASMR. It's weird, man. I'm just saying. There's some things I get. It's like, hey, this is the gentle sounds of the rain ASMR. Like, oh, nice. And there's like, you're stuck in a prison ASMR. So I don't know why I went there. It has nothing to do with where. Well, maybe sounds of metal, sounds
ASMR.
of ASMR, right? I have no segue, guys. I am so out of it. Anyways, we're talking about, what are we talking about, Brian? Because I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's just start over. And okay, no, just kidding. Go for it. I cut you off.
All right. So today we are talking about top 5 Warped Tour bands.
That's right.
History in Warped Tour? I have no idea. I know it started in 1995.
It was around for a long time. It's gone.
And ended in 2019. Was that like 24 years?
Yeah. Technically, wasn't it 25? But they didn't do like a country-wide tour. It's just like California, a couple of shows in Pomona, right? I remember they celebrated the 25th anniversary, but they didn't do like the whole statewide thing, I think. So,
it sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know. Anyways, obviously, 24, 25 years worth of history, just a ton of bands. So for us to go through like this huge list of bands and just pick our favorite 5, obviously really difficult. To make it more difficult for us, we decided to limit bands that have 3 or more appearances, right? So like Eminem, 1 appearance, doesn't count, right? Katy Perry, 1 appearance, doesn't count. No Doubt, Green Day, 2 appearances each, they don't count. It's major names, but I mean, don't belong on our list.
A lot of bands that and artists that are famous now kind of made somewhat of a name at Warped Tour, or came through Warped Tour at least. Like obviously one of the big ones is like Paramore was on there for like a hot spell. You mentioned Eminem, Katy Perry, Linkin Park was on a Warped Tour once. Like it gets a little crazy looking at this list, and there's hundreds of bands on there over the almost 25-year career of Warped Tour. So we thought it'd be fun just to list our top 5 favorite bands. Before we do that, Brian, what's your history with Warped Tour? Like, did you go to one? Did you go to several?
I've actually only been to 1 Warped Tour in 2007, I think it was.
Nice.
It was not even Pomona. It was Carson, the South Bay area, like that whole area between like Torrance, Compton area. But the Home Depot Center was. I don't remember what it's called now, but it was actually in the parking lot of the Home Depot Center. It's very dirty.
Yeah, I think the first one I went to was 2007 as well. Yeah, it was 2007. And I have a crazy story about that. So the first Warped Tour I went to was 2007, like you, here in Houston. And at the time, I was kind of sort of, I guess the best way to describe it is like I was an intern for Roadrunner Records, and I would help
Oh.
with like publicity and all that stuff. And the payoff was they didn't pay me in money, obviously, but I would get paid with like going to all these free shows and getting like VIP passes and whatnot. So of course, Roadrunner Records had a couple of bands on the bill, so they hooked me up with their marketing guy on the tour, and I got a couple of free tickets. And I took a friend with me who, well, we're not friends anymore, but it's because, but that's another story. It's stupid. It's just people separate. That's literally it. Like we used to work together and then we don't, so we are no longer communicating. It's weird. Welcome to Texas, essentially. But I took him with me, and it was crazy because the day of Warped Tour, it was just pouring rain for like 4 hours, like nonstop,
Oh.
heavy rain. Like it was just, if you're in Houston, you know what I'm talking about. There's just like those moments. There's a crazy amount of rain and the streets flood. So of course, like around 10, 11-ish, when they were supposed to open, they just kind of canceled the day. They were like, we're going to cancel the day. It's raining too much. We don't want to ruin our electronic components. And of course, once they cancel it, an hour later, it starts raining and it's a beautiful day. But that's Texas weather in a nutshell. But I get there. Obviously, I get soaking wet. I meet up with the PR guy. I drive him around town instead. And the next day was supposed to be the off day for the tour, but obviously instead of having an off day, they just had the Houston day that day. And instead of having it outside, it used to be, before it was the NRG Stadium, NRG. It was called the Reliant Stadium. And next to it, it has the arena. So there's like the stadium, there's like the convention center, and there's like arena. And they had Warped Tour in their arena, which was very odd because it's just a bunch of stages all compact together in this concrete box dome thingy. So it was just a lot of noise all the time. You couldn't escape it. But we were inside and it was kind of cool and there was AC. And I remember my first Warped Tour, I just kind of stood next to the main stage pretty much the whole time. Like I eventually walked. Anybody who's ever been to Warped Tour, it's a bunch of different stages. It's like the main stage A, main stage B. They have like a Journey stage and Monster Energy. There's like a bunch of different stages. And I always stuck to the main one because the bands I kind of sort of knew were gonna play there. But every once in a while, I would walk around. I heard this little band called Paramore there on one of the side stages. I saw this little band called August Burns Red alongside one of those stages, and it was a lot of fun, and I got to go for free. So, yeah, that was my first Warped Tour. So
Nice.
it was kind of crazy. And then I almost went every summer religiously after that. There's every once in a while, every other summer, I kind of skipped because it was just like either I couldn't go because I was busy or I was broke. I was going through college at the time too. But I tried to make it a thing to go every summer, and then eventually, of course, I dragged like my sisters with me. And yeah, it's such a good time, and I'm really bummed it's no longer a thing. But I got to see a lot of my favorite bands there. Got introduced to a lot of bands I love now because of it. So that was kind of the cool thing about.
How many would you say you've gone to?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. It's up there, man. I would say if it's not 10, it's pretty close.
Wow.
Yeah, I went like ever since 07, I was like, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to look forward to every summer.
Did you go in 2019?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
No.
That's the last year, right? It's 2019?
I think so, yeah. No. I think
obviously not this year.
I think the last like full tour was I think 2018. I could be wrong about that.
It was the last full tour. Okay.
Yeah, like the last full like cross country, we're going across the whole country type of ordeal. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because it says here on the wiki, on November 15, 2017, Kevin Lyman, announced that the 2018 Warped Tour would be the final year of operation. And then on December 18th, they did a 25th anniversary, and it just took place at Cleveland, Ohio, Atlantic City, and Mountain View, California. So they didn't do like a whole tour, just had
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't get to go to 2018. I was either poor or busy. And I really wanted to.
Mm.
I also kind of remember too 2018 because it was kind of like the last tour. There was not a lot of appeal for me to go because a lot of the bands that I was into at the time were just not going. And I didn't know a lot of the bands on the bill. So I was like, I don't know if I should go. And then luckily life kind of made that decision for me. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should go, but now I can't go. So
Mm.
probably had some gig or something during that time. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. But yeah, man, I went a lot up there. I would honestly say 10 to 11. It's probably more like 9 or 8, but I can't tell you for sure which ones because it's all a blur. They all kind of like together, you know?
They're all just bands on stages
Yeah, it's because
playing
legit.
loud music.
And the one I clearly remember is obviously my first one, and all the other ones kind of all blend together because they're all in the same area. So every time they would come to the Energy Stadium, and they would be in the parking lot, the big parking lot. So every year, like the one year they weren't in it was the first year I went, but literally every year after that was always the exact same spot every year. So it all just kind of blends in together for me, you know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to quite a lot. I still love going to shows. Such a bummer, COVID again. Damn you, COVID, ruining everything. But I like summer's usually the time where I really try to go out to some kind of music festival, or if I can't go to as many concerts as I possibly can go to, just because that's the perfect time to be outside, get sweaty, drink a lot of alcohol, just push young kids into the pit, be like,
So, do you still go into the pit at this
occasionally,
age?
yeah, occasionally, yeah. Well, let me see. So last year, the big festival that came through here is the So What Metal Festival, and it's a 2-day festival, just hardcore heavy metal bands. It was freaking great, and I knew a lot of the bands on the bill. And I'm not. It's an all-day thing, so I'm not in the pit all day. But I went with my baby sister Nazi. Shout out to Nazi, and like when some of my favorite bands would come on, I'd look at her and I'd be like, look, if they play this song, I'm jumping in the pit. And there was this one band that came on it's also on my list, Beartooth. And I was like, Nazi, if they play this one song, I'm jumping in the pit. And the minute I heard that first like 2 notes, I was like, see ya, and I jumped right into the pit.
Nice.
Yeah, I still.
And then you never saw her again. Oh my
nope,
God.
that was the last. She's still missing to this day. So, no, she's fine. So yeah, sometimes I still go ham. You know, I can't do it as much as I used to because I am an older man with responsibilities. But every once in a while, man, you just want to be like, fuck it, and just shove people and be shoved.
Oh man, I can tell you the craziest thing that I've seen wasn't part of it, just right on the outskirts of it. It was at Warped Tour, Avenged Sevenfold, where they did the Wall of Death, I guess it's called, where they split the crowd in half, and so each side just backs up like 1,000 feet, it seemed, right, and then just full on charges right at each other.
I've been in a few of those.
You've been in it?
Yeah, I've been in a few.
At the front line.
Not in the front line. I've been in the front of the crowd, not in front of the Wall of Death. So for anyone who's ever been at a concert, right, there's like the barrier and the stage, and I'm usually the type of guy that likes to be right on the barrier and be at the stage. So usually when that happens, though, the Wall of Death, they usually love to cut it right in the middle. So I've never been right in front for the Wall of Death, but I've been in Walls of Death. And it's pretty gnarly, man. And I think the one I got into was at a House of Blues show. I think it was Death Clock. And I legit remember, this is no joke, there's legit a point, and I'm a big dude, my feet weren't touching the ground, and I had no control of where I was going. Literally, the crowd was like so compact in that moment. I was like, holy shit, if I fall, I'm gonna get stomped to death. Like, I have no control right now where the floor is. It was kind of nuts. I was like, this is Death Clock. This isn't even real. This isn't even a real band. It's a cartoon, but.
No, ever been crowd surfing?
No, I'm too big. I wouldn't do that too.
I did it once.
Well, you could do it.
Yeah, you just tap someone's shoulder, like,
And
hey, you point to yourself, point up, and you go, all right, and
oh,
just pick you
dude,
up.
and I remember this one time. I remember this one time I was in Warped Tour, and there's just a guy like walking around the back, like, "Who wants to crowd surf? I'll throw you." Like legit, and people would be like,
Yeah.
"Me." And it was a big dude. He would legit just be like, "All right," and he picked him up. He literally threw him over his head onto the
Oh
crowd.
man,
It was fucking sick. It was pretty funny. Just watching him like,
he's
just watching him
getting
be
his
like, "You
deadlifts
want
in
to
for the
go?"
day.
I guess, man, that was his weightlifting regimen.
Dang.
I think the most insane thing I've seen was it a wall of death or was it one of those things where it's like everyone's on the floor and then they kind of no, it was a wall of death. It was a bullet for my Valentine's show in LA.
Oof.
It's like this theater. Oh, my God, what was the theater called? It's like underneath like this emerald looking building. It's like in LA. It's like close to Koreatown. What was that? Comedians play there a lot too. What was that theater called? It wasn't the Palladium. I know that. It was the it was this weird theater because it's like levels. So it's just the ground floor, but it's like levels of different ground floors, right? There's like one level, and you step down, it's the third, then it's the second, then it's the first, and then there's the stage in front of you. And it was Bullet for My Valentine. If I remember correctly, I think it was like Bullet for My Valentine, Bleeding Through, Cancer Bats. I think there was one more band that I can't remember. No, it's probably it. It was probably Cancer Bats, Bleeding Through, and then just Bullet for My Valentine. I think it was like 08, 09 tour. And Bullet for My Valentine did that thing too, where they looked out in the crowd and they were like, "Yeah, the stage is weird because not usually when you're like at a show, it's just like one big floor for general audience, but
Mm-hmm.
the floor was like it had 4 floors, so it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and each section of the floor was just packed with people. It was a weird place for a metal show, but the lead singer Matt was just like, "Fuck it, let's do a wall of death. Let's see how this works." So he did that too, and he separated the crowd. And it was that for that one. I remember I was in front for that one. that one, that one
That one
was
seems
pretty,
crazy with like different levels of.
yeah, it's so weird. I can't remember for the life of me. I hope someone who watches this can tell me in the comments. I can't remember the name of the theater. I know a bunch of comedians have played there, like Lewis Black played there, Robin Williams did some shows there, and Bullet for My Valentine did too. So well, I mean, I don't have to tell you, but that one was pretty nuts. But at Warped Tour, because this is about Warped Tour, no, I've been in Walls of Death, but I've never been in the front lines for it. But I've got some bruises from there, so I did my part.
Yeah.
I shed some blood. But yeah, let's just jump into it.
All right, let's
Before
do
we
it.
mention our top fives, I think me and Kuno have literally a couple of honorable mentions. So I'll let my good friend Brian go first. Brian.
Oh, a couple honorable mentions. Yeah, these are bands that I like. Um, and some of them are bands that just don't qualify because they've only been to Warped Tour twice. Right. So we got My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Hello Goodbye, All Time Low, Jimmy Eat World, and Paramore is on my honorable mention list.
Yeah, I have a couple of honorable mentions. For sure, Paramore. Every Time I Die. I have Wage War, Memphis May Fire, As I Lay Dying, which I think only did it like twice. Killswitch Engage, which did it once, and they did it with Paramore, which is kind of hilarious. And yeah, the couple of other bands I can't remember off the top of my head, but those are the ones I remember sticking out. Like, oh yeah, they did that. I remember the one that Killswitch Engage did was oddly enough the first Warped Tour I went to, which I'm pretty sure was 07, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Pretty sure if I look at that ridiculous list we have, it will confirm it for me. But yeah, those are our honorable mentions. Again, they didn't qualify for our top five because they had less than 3 appearances at Warped Tour. But
Other than Paramore.
yeah, it would obviously we both would have had Paramore. As much as I love metalcore, down to my core, I mean, Paramore is like the penultimate Warped Tour band, right?
Yeah. Paramore,
Or
actually, the first concert I went to, headliner was Simple Plan, right? So I went for Simple Plan, but opening for Simple Plan, and this is in I want to say '05 maybe. So opening for them was Paramore, Plain White Tees, and the Early November.
nice.
Yeah.
The first Paramore show I went to was awesome. They had Hello Goodbye open for them in Metric, which if you know anything about Hello Goodbye in Metric, that was an awesome show. It was right when the self-titled came out. So yeah. All right, let's just officially jump into it. We're gonna announce our number 5. That's my shitty radio voice. I think this time I'll go first because if I remember correctly, for Nolan, you started off our list. But I think it's only fair I start off the music list.
All
so
right.
my number 5 is probably a band that most people have never heard of because they're this small indie hardcore metal punk band, and it's called Vanna, Vanna. And the reason I'm putting them as my number 5 is because I feel like this is what Warped Tour represented for me. Warped Tour was a time to, yes, go listen to some of my favorite bands, but also discover bands I've never heard before. And Vanna was one of those bands I heard for the first time ever at Warped Tour. Not only that, I met the dudes in line to get into Warped Tour because Respect the Hustle, they were outside trying to sell people their CDs and trying to convince them to come to the Monster Energy stage to come catch their show. And I talked to the dudes and they seemed like really cool, down-to-earth dudes, and they were there selling their CD. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'll buy a CD. How much? And I bought their CD called Void, which was the second to last album they made before they called it a day with the band. And I was like, I'm gonna go check him out. And I marked down that time. I told them I'm gonna be there. And there was like nobody there. It was like maybe 20 kids, 10, 15, 20 kids at the most. But these guys went hard, dude. Like they were fucking jumping off the stage. The lead singer jumps off the stage, moshes with the kids there. And I was just like, respect, dude. This is like what I like the hardcore energy. The lead singer too, this is what really got me. The lead singer saw a couple of dudes about to fight, right? And this guy had like this mask on, like one of those, like, I don't know what they're called, but it's like a handkerchief around here and they just pull it up. It's like a specific type of name for that mask. I forgot the name of it. But the lead singer literally got up in that guy's face, pulled the mask down. It's like, hey man, you gotta calm down. There's no room for that energy here. We're all had a good time. If you're gonna fight, you can leave the show. And I was like, in the middle of a fucking song, he said that. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow this band. And I did. And they unfortunately are no longer a band, but I really love that band. And I remember that memory distinctly, being like in line, being like, look at these guys hustling. All right, I'm gonna go check them out. And I didn't regret it. It was a good fucking time. So number 5 for me is Hannah. They were on Warped Tour 4 times. And of course I mentioned my favorite album was the one that I bought on a whim, waiting in line at Warped Tour, which is Void. And it's a heavy, heavy album. If you're into you like bands like and I'm sure if you know Vanna, you like bands like The Chariot and like Dillinger Escape Plan and Let Live and those guys. So yeah, recommend it if you're into that sound. That's my number 5.
All right. See, I don't have any stories like that, so I'm just gonna not participate.
All right, and that's the show.
That's the show. All right. Thanks for no.
Hit the music.
All right, my number 5. I've already mentioned them, but the Plain White Tees.
Nice.
So they're not, I think, a conventional choice for Warped Tour necessarily. They're not. They don't really like. If you know the Plain White Tees and like the commercial success that they have, their music doesn't quite fit Warped Tour vibes. But the first two albums that I got sucked into.
That's kind of, I mean, agree to disagree. I think that's kind of the beauty of Warped Tour because yeah, obviously the thing you kind of think of the most is like punk rock vibes mostly, right? But I remember at least the last few years I remember distinctly like that's what I went for, but that's like one aspect of it. They had like some DJ sets happening the last time I was there. They had some rap groups. They had an acoustic set, which is literally just people singing acoustically. So I don't know. I mean, if you're saying like they don't get top billing, it'd be weird for them to get top billing on a Vans Warped Tour. Then yeah, maybe because it's not quite the sound. But I can you can kind of make an argument for it. I don't know if I agree, but that's just me though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying you're wrong. No.
No, I mean, before you interrupted me, what I was saying was.
Before you try to mansplain something to me.
No, but so the first two albums that I listened to, specifically, shoot, what was it called?
First,
All That We Needed, which is like their second album. That has a little more of that like pop punk vibe to it, a little more upbeat. And then on that album, the very last track is "Hey There, Delilah," and obviously they went towards more of that direction. But what I really liked about the Flying Whiteys is that some of their songs still went back to like what first caught my attention, and then they would supplement that with some of their little softer songs. But that's what as I got older, that's what I started gearing towards. A little bit softer music, not so much high energy. And so what I'm trying to say is if I were to go to a Warped Tour again, that's the kind of thing that I would maybe want to look for, right? Something a little more off the beaten path.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's weird because it's not. I guess what would you call them then? I guess alternative rock, even though that term doesn't really fit them all that well. But they're not quite punk. I would agree with that. They're not quite like on a Green Day, Blink-182 level. It's more like a
little more popish.
Yeah, like more like a Taking Back Sunday type of level. I think that might be or the Used maybe, or the Killers. Maybe the Killers a little bit better. Because like bands like the Killers, the Used were on Warped Tour, but I wouldn't really call them like punk rock bands either. They were kind of like off the beaten path too, and like bands like Modest Mouse too, which is really off the beaten path. But, yeah, I interrupted again. I apologize.
That's cool. Yeah, no, but yeah, so that's it's the first concert I went to. It's when I first discovered them, so they hold this little special place in my heart. All right, David, what's your number 4?
Oh, my number 4. My number 4 is a post-hardcore band, I would say, called Beartooth. And again, I didn't discover. Oh, not again. I guess I didn't discover this band at Warped Tour, but I went to a Warped Tour because this band was going to be there specifically, and I was like, I'll go to this Warped Tour. And yeah, they were just brilliant. I really loved their first album, which is called Disgusting. Like everything on that song spoke to me personally. It's not the most intricate music because it's not really metal. It's kind of like a weird like hybrid of like post-hardcore and punk, I would say, with like some metalcore elements in it, maybe without having the metal part in it. But I don't know. The album just kind of spoke to me. At the time, I was dating this girl, and like we really bonded over this album and that band. And that band, I was able to convince her to go with me to Warped Tours. It was also kind of like the first Warped Tour I went with like a significant other, which is actually it was kind of fun. I look back at it and I was like, that was a good day. Don't regret that move. But yeah, man, I don't know how to describe this band. They're just really good. The guys are really young. They're like in their mid-20s, and they already have like 3 albums out, and they've already toured all over the world. Like they were a headliner for the So What Metal Festival I mentioned last year. I think they closed out. No, they were the second to last band Saturday. The last band was Parkway Drive. But yeah, I really love this band. They've been on Warped Tour 5 separate occasions. And like I mentioned, their album is disgusting. That earlier story, I could tell you that earlier story where I was like, I told Nazareth like they play this one song, I'm jumping in. It was for Beartooth, and the song was called The Line. And I don't know, for some reason that song, especially the chorus, just hits hard. So the minute I heard those couple of like, I was like, peace. And I jumped in that pit, banging my little heart out, and pushing people away. It was awesome. I love that band. So, and yeah, and that Warped Tour was a good Warped Tour. It was fun. It was heavy. I remember that was the Warped. That was probably the Warped Tour I was the most tired, and it was the one I went to go see Beartooth in because it was a hot day, and I was like in a lot of different stages, like jumping back and forth between stages just to see bands. And I remember eventually I got to a point where I was like, I can't breathe. So, yeah, man, that's my number 4. But what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Bowling for Soup.
Mm.
I love this band. It's the early stuff is, again, what really caught my attention, right? It's Drunk Enough to Dance or A Hangover You Don't Deserve. Like those 2 albums alone, I'm like, to this day I would still listen to those 2 albums. What are some of their biggest songs?
I can't remember the top of my head, but the minute you say them, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, that tune.
The Girl All the Bad Guys Want. It's a good one. 1985. Remember that music video being played on MTV over and over again.
Mm-hmm. 1985.
Yeah, still.
Stacy's Mom, bro.
Stacy's Mom's a good one. They did a cover of "I'll Melt the World for You" song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's in Sky High, Disney's Sky High.
Yeah, because it says here, I'm looking at Spotify. Stacy's Mom was written by
Fountains of Wayne.
Fountains of Wayne, right? But they covered it.
Yeah. What else? The theme song to Phineas and Ferb. They also did that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably what I know him most from.
They're from Texas, actually.
I'm not. I just live here. I'm from Cali, baby. I'm SoCal, the 626. What?
I'm trying to sell this band to you. Right?
You want to trade places real quick?
And I'm good.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they were at Warped Tour. They saw a whole 9 times, according to the wiki page.
That's like a staple Warped Tour.
Yeah.
Sure.
What are we on? 3? What's your number 3?
All right, my number 3 is straight up metal. I think it's pretty metal. People will say it's not that metal, but I think they're pretty metal. And it's I can't speak. August Burns Red, a metalcore band. They've been on the tour 7 individual times, and I don't know how long ago, but when I was getting into metal a lot, I ran into this album just randomly on iTunes, I think, because there was like that moment where like YouTube and iTunes were experimenting with like recommendations and suggestions, and it was either iTunes or YouTube, but I was listening to something and they're like, if you like this band, which I think it was probably like Killswitch Engager as I like dying at the time, they're like, you might like this band, and it was August Burns Red album Messengers. And I remember hearing that first song and that riff, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like, I know it's like quote unquote metalcore, which a lot of people were like, it's kind of like weak metal, but to me it sounded really heavy and intricate." And I was like, I like this band. And then watching them live, dude, it's another band that goes hard too. Like people go insane. There's like just bodies constantly surfing, and there's always a constant circle pit, mosh pit going on. And I'm just like, I'm into this. I like this vibe. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a heavy band. So anytime they were on Warped Tour, I always made sure to check them out. Whenever they did their own little solo tours for like their album cycles, I make sure to check them out. If you like metal and metalcore, I recommend you check them out. I mean, the album that got me introduced to them was Messengers, but I think probably my favorite album is a toss-up with Messengers and Phantom Anthem. I think Phantom Anthem really captures the heaviness of Messengers for me personally in terms of the riffage. And yeah, that album and my number 2 band and the albums I'm going to mention number 2 came during a point where that girl I mentioned earlier, but yeah, we broke up, and I didn't take it well. I'll admit that to you, dear listener. It's okay to feel feelings, guys. If your heart's broken, go through it. And my heart was broken at the time, and this album kind of like helped me get through it, because it was like a very like uplifting album in terms of like the lyrical content and all that stuff. And it's just heavy as fuck. So yeah, I have a soft spot for Phantom Anthem. So that's my number 3. Brian, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is The Used.
Aha!
They were on Warped Tour for, what is it, 8 appearances at Warped Tour. Man, what to say about The Used? They captured a feeling, a whole vibe of like, I don't know, that whole like emo kind of generation, right? The Used, I think Hawthorne Heights is also a good one that kind of,
I was literally about to mention that band.
yeah, kind of captures that whole like teenage angst in the early 2000s. In Love and Death, I think, is probably my favorite album. It's just, I don't know, the first two, like self-titled and In Love and Death, and even the Lies for the Liars, they all have just amazing songs. Like Yesterday's Feelings, Lunacy Fringe, Earthquake. I love Earthquake.
Oh, all right.
You're right there.
Yeah, I was just listening to you. I'm like, all right, man, keep gushing. It's all good.
Yeah, even the album covers, or the artwork for the covers are really good. Like the In Love and Death with the tree and like that little heart falling from it. Yeah.
Yeah, the album covers are pretty sick. They're really unique for sure.
Yeah, man, that's just how I felt in my early teens.
Didn't we all, buddy? Didn't we all? Nice, dude. Yeah, The Used.
Yeah.
Wow, a total of 8 times. That's another like Warped Tour band for sure.
Yeah. All right, your number 2.
My number 2 is Bayside from Bayside, New York. They've been on Warped Tour a total of 5 times, and this band again is like another, like I hold it very close to my heart for emotional reasons as well. I was introduced to this band by a very good friend of mine who I went to college with, and I was just like, I remember specifically, I was one day on in Best Buy back when they used to sell CDs. Now I would do this thing where I would just be like, I'm in the mood to listen to something new. I don't care what it is. And I just texted people like, hey man, what are some bands you're into that you can recommend for me? And my friend was like, well, I don't know if you've heard of Bayside, but I totally recommend Bayside and getting this album. I couldn't find it at my Best Buy, but I did find it online, and I bought it online. And the album was called Killing Time. And I was like, whoa, this band's really good. It's like, man, it's so hard to describe because it's like the vibe is like punk rock vibe, but the tunes aren't punk rock. Like it's very intricate chord progressions, and there's like really shreddy solos and melodies. I think the lead singer, Anthony, said like Bayside is essentially show tunes. It's like musical show tunes, but punk rock. And I was like, that kind of makes sense because it's so melodic and chordal, but it's like, it's heavy. Like it's like it's chordy and it sounds like punk rock, but it's not that, because punk rock usually kind of like, when you think punk rock, you always think almost like AC/DC. It's like, it's 4 songs, it's played in eighth notes, 4 chords, I'm sorry, played eighth notes, and like a really heavy, fast drum beat. And like, it's not to say that they're not fast or heavy, but that's not the vibe at all. It's like, again, it's just very intricate work, and I really recommend listening to it because it's a really unique band that I wish more people would listen to. But the album that I really love from them is an album called Vacancy, and for anybody who doesn't know about Bayside, right, the lead singer of the band, Anthony, was going through a divorce, and he went into this hotel room, and I think he says it was like in Tennessee, in Nashville probably, and over the course of like two weeks, he wrote this whole album in that hotel room, and that's why it's called Vacancy, because he was just living in this motel. And like I mentioned earlier, I was kind of going through a thing, and the album just really resonated with me because I was like, I wasn't going through a divorce, obviously, like I was imagining it's probably a little bit harder, but like I don't know, that album kind of came in a perfect time in my life where like I couldn't describe what I was going through because it was so unique to me at the moment because I've never gone through a heartache like that. And then this guy just kind of encapsulates that feeling and like everything you're kind of going through so perfectly in that album. And yeah, I love that album for that reason. Um, it's a little hard sometimes to listen to it because there is that weird emotional attachment to it. Every once in a while, though, it'll come on my Spotify or whatever if I put the songs on random and I'm like, and I'll listen to the songs again. And like now, luckily, I'm not in that mode where it's like I'll automatically cry or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's like those
Right.
songs where you're just going through, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll listen to it and I'll go, oh man, it's actually a great tune. But then I'll be like, man, it'll spark that memory like, oh, I was going through some shit during this time, bro. I went through the ringer. So, but yeah, Killing Time and Vacancy. Yeah, Killing Time is like the album that got me into them. I love that album, but Vacancy is the one that has that emotional resonance for me. And I wish I was better at describing how the band sounds, but I really think everyone should listen to them. I think they're a very unique band. They're rock. They're definitely rock. How would you describe said rock? If it's alternative, punk, it's kind of hard to explain. You just kind of listen to them. To me, they're super unique. And
Punk rock show tunes.
yeah, it's man. I'll play you a song after we stop recording so that YouTube algorithm doesn't try to delete us. But what's your number 2?
Yeah. Well, really quick, I just want to touch upon like music. It's really crazy how just music and sounds in general can be like a time portal.
Yeah.
Right. How it just takes you right back in that spot that you were when it resonated with you and just like drops you off.
Yeah. Luckily, I think the beautiful thing about it, honestly, because I can listen to the album now, the album Vacancy. I think the beautiful thing about it is like some bands and some songs and some albums are there for you when you really need them. And then once you get through whatever you need to get through, right? And if you go back and listen to it, you can kind of go back and like not necessarily put yourself in the same emotional state, but kind of put yourself in that moment. It's almost like, it's so weird. I'm going to get really fartsy and artsy with this, but it's almost like you're a ghost, right? And you're kind of just haunting in that moment. Like you can see yourself in that moment. You can feel what you're going through, right? You have empathy for yourself, but you don't feel that way anymore, but you can see that moment in time. And that for me is what Vacancy is, where it's like I could literally listen to the album, close my eyes, and I could literally see myself in the same room that I'm in a completely different mindset. And like, I feel for that guy, but then I also go like, man, when you get through this, like you're going to be a better human being for it. You know what I mean? And then now when I listen to it, I kind of go back and appreciate like where I was to where I am now, to where I'm not that dude anymore. I'm a little, I like to think I'm more mature. I'm probably not, whatever. But
I mean, like slightly more mature is still more mature.
Just like a notch. Just like if I was at a 5 for maturity, these last events maybe at a 5.14 at the most. That's being generous. No, but it is like this weird little like emotional memory time capsule. So yeah, it's kind of the beautiful thing about music in general. And there's one song on this album in particular. The minute I hear the first chord, I already know what it is, and it kind of takes me back. I can hear those first 2 chords, da-da, and I'm like, I'm there. And it's weird, but luckily I'm not there emotionally, if that makes sense. Like I remember what I was going through, but I'm not feeling the pains of what I was going through.
Yeah. Do you ever use that to help you like create?
Yeah. Oh,
like,
definitely.
write music and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like, because we were talking about this before we hit record, right? Where it's like sometimes inspiration just hits. Sometimes you got to make inspiration hit, and sometimes you got to work, unfortunately, right? And usually when I'm in that point where it's like I don't feel inspired and I got to work, I usually try to listen to something else that might inspire me. Like for sure something I like Bayside's a big one that I love to listen to just to feel creative. Obviously Killswitch Engage, some not even metal bands. Like I'll listen to jazz. I'll listen to like my favorite jazz players are like Wes Montgomery and like Miles Davis and Roy Hargrove and all these cats, Count Basie. And just and then eventually it'll be like 2 or 3 notes that all of a sudden be like something resonates about this little progression of notes, and that'll help me write a tune or whatever. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, man, for sure. Inspiration. Gotta listen to stuff that inspires you sometimes. Or just to chill, you know? Or
Just
even
to chill, yeah.
sometimes you need a good cry.
You've been holding a lot of stuff in. You just gotta let it out.
Just put on that Hamilton soundtrack and just look around. Just tears for all my Hamilton,
Yes.
for all my Hamilton friends and fans out there. I know it was probably a terrible. I'm not a singer. Anyways, Brian, what's your number 2?
My number 2, Sum 41.
Nice.
Sum 41 came to me in a time when I was kind of just discovering music, right? My number 1 band and then this band kind of arrived like in my life at the same time. And yeah, it's that first album. Shoot, what is it called? I don't remember. I can't think of. Do you have it in front
Fat
of you?
Lip was on it, right? It has like Fat
Right.
Lip and what is it called? Isn't it just a self-title? It probably isn't.
I think it might have been.
I think it might have been just a self-titled.
Oh, All Killer No Filler.
That's what it was. Yes.
That's the one.
Gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
myself.
first album.
I
mean, yeah, yeah.
That album, I would just put into my little Walkman CD player, my little headphones going around the hectic ones, just listen hours and hours on repeat.
Oh man,
yeah. Speaking of Fat Lip, man, I don't think, even sober, I don't think I can do the lyrics.
I was about to say, you could bring up our karaoke story. That's a great story.
Oh man,
we almost didn't do it. Do you remember?
I do remember. So, real quick, it was after high school. So you had already moved to Texas, and you were back in town visiting.
Yeah.
We got a couple of high school friends, who I don't think we've ever really hung out together in high school, but we were all individually friends with each other, sort of. And then we all just ended up at this bar. We're drinking, having fun. They had on stage karaoke, so you were singing in front of everybody.
Yeah. To be fair, there was not a lot of people in this bar. It was a tiny ass bar. It was like a Thursday night or something, or a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was really divey kind of wall. I don't even know how we even ended up there.
I remember it was a certain lady took us there.
Oh, it was her recommendation?
I think if I vaguely remember that night, but the parts I remember is we wanted to go to a bar and we just came out of watching a movie. What movie? I don't remember, but it was the Edwards. For anybody that lived in the area we lived in, it's the Edwards off of 10. Do you remember?
I do.
So we came out of that and we were it was pretty much her being let's go drink. And it's where do we go? And then I think she was there's a bar right there. And we were all right. As young people do.
As young people do, yes. I remember, yes. And then we had enough to drink that, I don't know if it was you, it's probably her who really pushed it, but convinced me to sign up.
Yep.
Right.
It was definitely her.
Probably, yeah. And I think I said
we don't want to say our friend's name, but if she's watching this and she remembers, you were really good at convincing us to do shit we didn't want to do.
I remember saying I would only do it if David does it with me.
And then I said I had enough whiskey in me, and I was like, okay.
Let's do it. And then we ended up picking "Fat Lip" by Sum 41, which, if you know the song,
a wordy song,
and how it's very wordy, and how the tempo is just really fast. Like I said, sober, I don't think I can keep up with the lyrics.
Now imagine us
us drunk.
Because you don't know us at all. We laugh with no people. Why did you conscious so smart heavy metal and God? That's how I remember that night.
Yeah.
Us struggling and barely breathing our way through that tune.
I gave up after the first 3 lines.
Just giggling on stage.
Yeah.
I remember I remember this too. You didn't use our real names. You used pseudonyms. You remember?
I do. I remember the names. Do you know the names?
I don't remember the names.
Oh, you were Gregory,
Uh,
and I was Nathaniel.
I love that you gave me Gregory. That was my name. Oh
So-
my god.
So we're like in the booth, and I had gone to the restroom. I was coming out, and the person on stage is saying, "Okay, like last call for Gregory and Nathaniel." I'm like, "Oh, that's us." So like I pulled you like out off your seat because I think you're trying to hide, trying to
I was like, I'm not doing this alone. Fuck that.
So I pull you up. We go on stage, and like most of the people are either, I think it was like half of them were like Latino and half of them were white,
And they were old.
and they're all old, like
It was
in their
like people,
50s.
it was like
right?
people that just came out of their 9 to 5 and have been there since 5. And it was like 10.
But I can imagine them hearing Nathaniel and Gregory, and then seeing you and I walk up.
It's like, we're about to hear Sweet Home Alabama. What the this really brown kid and this tiny adorable guy. And then we start belting out terribly. It's the worst karaoke I've ever done. Fat Lip by Sum 41. And then on top of that, we were already buzzing hard.
Oh yeah.
And then yeah.
Then we went back to
Your place.
to my house and proceeded to get blackout drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that. You got wasted. But luckily, it was safe. We weren't wasted at the bar. We had like 1 or 2 drinks top, so we had a good little buzz going. And then we went back to his place, and then we got wasted because we could just sleep on his couch, no problem. We're like responsible adults, guys.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that was fun.
Anyways.
I remember that night. What movie did we go watch though? I don't
know.
Did we want to go
I've never seen Bruno.
It wasn't that then.
That I remember.
We went to go watch a movie. Yeah, that's all I remember, and that's why we went to that bar because it was literally right next to the theater.
It's probably Rollerball, starring LL Cool J.
It's legit.
No, I have no idea.
After this recording, I'm gonna go look up like 2007 summer release movies and then see what it was. Was it Dark Knight?
No, that's 2008.
It's 2008. All right. So was it Iron Man maybe?
No, that's also 2008.
Really? Both? That's
yeah.
You're right, man. You should compete in the movie trivia showdown, man. You.
Yeah, number 1. I'm sorry. I don't know if I said it, but Sum 41 had 10 appearances at the Warped Tour, starting from year 2000.
I mean, yeah. If you know Warped Tour, that's like again, like we say that word a lot, quintessential Warped Tour band, but it's like, like those guys are like 5, 6, 7, 8 up to the double digits. Like they are legit quintessential. Like they are what gave Warped Tour like its character, its personality. So
yeah. Favorite song 88 from the Chuck album. If you don't know it, listen to it.
Yeah, I recommend. That's probably my favorite album from them too. Not to say that All Killer No Filler isn't a fun album. It's fun, but Chuck is like that weird hybrid of like them doing punk, them doing weird,
a little bit of metal,
and a little bit of metal. It for me it works. It's definitely
I love it.
My favorite album from them, and I think it's their most ambitious one. Like everything else after that, I was just kind of like, all right, this is good, but it ain't no Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck is
maybe
top 5 albums for me.
It's a good album. It's definitely a really great album. I'm not taking anything away from that album. It's a solid album. All right, my number 1 is again a band I would consider quintessential Warped Tour, and it's probably a band for me that kind of represents Warped Tour for musicians like that. Where it's like before they started in Warped Tour, they were like a little unknown band, and then they kind of became, in some ways, almost like one of the faces, if not the face of Warped Tour. And that band for me, number 1, is Yellow Card. If you know Yellow Card, what is there to say about Yellow Card, right? It's punk rock meets a little bit of emo, meets a little bit of acoustic ballads,
Yeah.
right? And it works with a violin, out of all instruments with the violin, and it works, dude. It's one of my favorite alternative punk rock bands. Just yeah, I remember in high school, right? They came out with Ocean Avenue, and that album just blew up for them and kind of launched them into the stratosphere. And to this man, they have so many good albums. That I think that has to be my favorite album, just because the one where it's like it introduced me to them, and it has all those classic hits, like obviously Ocean Avenue, Way Away,
Mm-hmm.
Only One, and such a classic like album. And when I listen to that album, I legit always think of Warped Tour, because legit the most times I've seen Yellow Card, and I've seen them a lot too, but the most times I've seen them has been on Warped Tour, because like when I started going to Warped Tour, they were pretty much there every year, almost. So yeah, they've been on Warped Tour a total of 7 times, which is a lot.
Oh wow.
That's a lot. And yeah, man, and like the last few times I went, they were always on the main stage. They were one of the main stage bands, which is like is a big deal for being on Warped Tour. And I got to meet the guys a couple of times too. Quiet dudes, surprisingly, for how aggressive they get on stage. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. If I just start talking, I'm just start just gushing and stuff. But I really love this band. I love the guitar work on it. I love the fast drumming, the weird little violin solos they throw in there, and then when they go soft, their soft is really good too. So
It's
yeah,
really profound, I think,
yeah,
their music.
it's so weird because like, especially looking at like Ocean Avenue, that first song is like a banger.
Mm-hmm.
It just like starts off quietly and it gets really loud in your face, and then you keep going. It's just like banger, 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 and then they get into like Only One, which is like this weird like ballad punk rock song, I guess is the best way to describe it. It's like very like melodic, and it's like about breaking up with somebody. But I don't know, man. And it just and then you add the violin on top of it and just makes it like this really sweeping ballad, but it has like heavy like rock riffs in it, and it's just good, guys. I 10 out of 10 would recommend. Listen to Ocean Avenue and then every other album after that for sure. But yeah, my number one Warped Tour band would have to be Yellow Card.
Nice.
And let me guess what your number one is. Dear listener, in case you haven't noticed the clue right underneath your nose, or in this case, underneath Brian's nose. Brian, tell the dear listeners what your number one is.
Megan Dia.
Yep.
Roses by Megan. No. Which I got to meet Megan Dia at the Warped Tour. Very nice girls.
Legit.
Very pretty.
I didn't say this too, but I've gotten to meet like some. I've met a lot of the band, like Memphis Mayfire, Vanna, Beartooth. I met the Yellow Card Cats. I met the Bayside guys. All band people are just nice for them. I mean, I guess they kind of have to be, right? Because publicity. But I've never had a bad experience meeting a band, so I've lucked out. So
yeah.
All right.
All right. Number one. If you know anything about me, it's pretty obvious. New Found Glory. Yeah. New Found Glory is my favorite band of all time.
And it's all downhill from here.
I've been to, well, let's start with this. They've been at Warped Tour for a total of 7 times. So they headlined in 2002 from research I've seen. And so they also like a big name in terms of like kind of being that face of Warped Tour and like what it's supposed to represent to a certain kind of people. I think in general that whole bubblegum pop punk kind of thing, like you can put New Found Glory, Blink-182 in it, right? Good Charlotte even, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Also,
Good Charlotte.
Yeah.
Simple Plan maybe.
Simple Plan. Fall Out Boy. Would you put in that category? They're a little different.
They're a little different. I don't know if I'd put Fall Out Boy on there. I would early Fall Out Boy. I think I'd put towards emo. more almost like emo.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto was more
Yeah,
emo.
like Fall Out Boy and like My Chemical Romance and like Panic at the Disco. Those all kind of fall in that same kind of like, because they're not full on emo the way like Hawthorne
Mhm.
Heights is, but they got
Right.
that kind of like pop punk with like a dash of emo over it.
Right.
The scene music, I guess. I don't know what you would call it.
I guess that's a good word for it, scene music.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Newfound Glory, I've been to their shows for a total of 18 and a half times.
I believe it. That sounds on brand for you.
Yeah. Yeah, 2-3 times a year, every year, since I started going to shows. This year was supposed to be also another show I was going to go to back in June. Got canceled for obvious reasons, but they did do a live broadcast show that I got to watch. So that was cool. The half show that I kind of saw, it's only half because I blacked out.
Wow, there's a trend. I know.
It is
You
a
trend with
trend
you.
here.
When's the last time you blacked out? Please say
I
it was
think.
our baseball trip.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It was the baseball trip
You know why you forgot about it?
because I white out. They blacked out.
I legit. All right, listener. I'll let you know because you're our friend too, listener. I blacked out. That was like the first time I legit blacked out because you told me things I did that I don't remember. You're like, yeah, we had a whole conversation. Like, we had a whole conversation? What did I say? I don't remember, but I just remember we talked. What?
Yeah.
How did I get in this bed? Where did this vomit come from?
Yeah. Fun nights. Fun nights.
Oh, by
More
the way,
whiskey.
we drank in our Airbnb. We weren't out and drinking. Again,
No, it was we were in St. Louis at an Airbnb.
Yep.
We
We're watching
went
a
out.
baseball game
We were watching a baseball game.
because we were there for baseball.
Yeah. We were watching. It was the night before we were gonna go to like a St. Louis game. We were watching on TV Angels versus Astros.
Yeah.
I think
And,
what were we drinking? Angels Envy.
Angels Envy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the rye, the one finished in port barrels. Which again, fantastic whiskey. It was so good. Too good.
We finished the whole bottle in less than an hour.
That was the stupidest thing we've ever done.
I know. We should have really been watching how much we're drinking.
10 out of 10 would not recommend finishing a whole bottle of whiskey with your friend on one sitting. That's
no.
That being said, the journey was fun. Getting to our destination, terrible time.
Yeah.
It pretty much decommissioned me the next day. I was sick and hungover. Luckily, until miraculously right before we had to leave for the game. Until trying to go for the game, I was like, I feel better now. Let's go to the game. But everything before that, awful. Awful, would not recommend. That's my Yelp review. Being hungover, don't recommend it.
No. 1 star.
0 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, yeah. So Newfound Glory, I've also met some of the members from Newfound. There's the only member I haven't met is Jordan Pundik, the lead singer.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is like Cyrus, Ian, Chad. Chad, I've met multiple times. He used to live in Silver Lake, and so you would see him around town sometimes. But I went to one of his shows with his other band, What's Eating Gilbert, and it was a very small like venue somewhere in Long Beach. And right before he went on stage, he was in the back, kind of selling his merchandise. So I went to go buy a couple things, and I noticed he was playing Magic: The Gathering. Yeah, and I just started talking to him about like different card games and other stuff, and yeah, really really cool guy. Love Chad.
Nice, that's awesome. You didn't play like a game like, oh, I brought my deck too.
Oh, I wish. Yeah. No, I didn't play Magic. If it was Yu-Gi-Oh, that would have been different.
We would have swept them.
Right.
Sweep the leg, Johnny. But yeah, man, 18 times. Have I seen anybody
18
times? No. I'm trying to though. Like I think the band I've seen the most is Killswitch Engage. Literally every time they've been in Houston, I've gone to go see them, and that's been like let me see, 1, 2, like once every year since I lived here. So that's probably what, 12?
Okay, you're up. That's up there. Yeah.
That's up there. I've seen them a lot. I saw them with Howard. I saw them with that weird tour where it was Phil from All That Remains, and then I saw them when they came back with Jesse. I saw them a couple of times in California, surprisingly. One time I saw them in Cali, but I'm counting that because it counts. I want to go see them.
It counts. You saw them.
Yeah. Alrighty. Wow, that was an episode. We should title this Warped Tour and Drinking.
Right.
There's a lot of drunk stories here. And and like, no, that's pretty much it. I hope that's what everyone takes away, is that music is awesome and so is drinking.
Just don't combine the two, because then you get blackout karaoke nights. I mean, no, you can.
You should definitely combine the two. Just don't overdo one or the other. How about that? Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Drink and karaoke responsibly is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, don't stop believing, because everyone does it. It's hacky. We've heard it. We all know it. We love the tune. It needs a break. That's all I'm saying. And don't
Bohemian Rhapsody. No,
yeah, don't do Bohemian Rhapsody. Don't do songs with really long interludes in it, because you're just there awkwardly with like a microphone, just standing there like, okay, is everyone having a good time? See how awkward this looks? That's what you look like. And that's my bit. You're welcome, internet. Well, that was an episode. We did it.
Yay, we did it.
Keep doing these. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty consistent.
Yes, so far, right?
So far.
I'm gonna fuck it up, man. I hate commitment now. I can't do it.
I used to C word.
Oh God. So I don't know. Should we spoil next week's topic?
You mean eggs? Are we doing eggs next week?
Yeah, we're definitely doing eggs next week for sure. I know that in the early episodes, but dude, eggs is coming, bro.
It's
eggs
coming.
You guys have no idea. Eggs, it's gonna be so what we're gonna talk about, you're gonna have to wait and see. All we can tell you is eggs. We should do like an ASMR episode. It's just us cracking eggs for a whole hour.
Eggs.
And then just put the microphone next to the grill. Sunny side up.
Over easy.
I don't know what that impression was. That's terrible sound effects.
What is it? Are you drinking your egg from a straw or?
Oh, egg white smoothie. Salmonella. All right. Dear listener, I like calling you dear listener now. It's mostly just like a consistent 8 of you. God bless you. Oh, there's something I was gonna mention for somebody and I forgot the name of it. I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible friend. No, wait, let me look it up. I can do this quickly while I'm killing time. It's a weird. Oh, I wanted to show this to Brian. I don't know if I can play it.
Oh.
I'm gonna do it. If we get copyright strike, we'll just take it out later.
Okay.
Give me like a minute.
A whole minute?
Because I gotta look it up. That's us.
All right. In the meantime, things you can find in our egg episode.
All right, I found it.
Eggs.
Tell me if you can hear it.
Easy eggs.
This is a live
Scrambled
reaction.
eggs.
This is a live reaction, ladies and gentlemen. He's never seen this before, and I'm gonna shout her out, Mrs. Lee. This is for you. He unfortunately can't see the video, but he's about to hear it. And Brian, I present to you this masterpiece called Bimson. Here we go. Can you hear it?
Nope. There's a lot of.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm really Bimson, yeah.
Can you hear it now?
I could.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, I guess I'm really Bimson, yeah.
Can I share my screen?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I guess I'm Bimson, yeah. Guess I'm really Bimson, yeah.
Oh, it's so up. All right, let me do this. Let me send you the link and watch it on your side.
Okay. It sounds amazing.
It's
Who is this?
dude, it's the next artist of our generation. All right. We might have to edit it from you watching it on your side, but you got the link. All right.
There it is.
All right, I'm gonna start over again. I'm about to introduce to Brian probably the greatest piece of music of our time.
Oh no.
That's right. I can hear it.
Oh. There's some really interesting finger movements.
Yeah, it's very intricate, his piano playing. Voice of an angel. I love that Brian looks both confused but somehow turned on.
Yeah, that's my sexy face.
That describes the song pretty well, right? It seemed fitting ending our first musical episode about Warped Tour bands with arguably, I wouldn't argue it. This is the greatest song of our generation. Like,
I think so. I think we'll have to include the link down below.
Yeah. Or dear listener, look up Bimson, Bimpson. It's really the pinnacle of music. I feel like. I think everything after. We should just stop writing. I mean, that's it. That's what Beethoven would write if he was alive today. That would be his magnus opus. That would be his ninth. That 1 minute and 25 seconds.
He has officially put you out of business.
Yeah, we're done. That's
and then
it.
Just retire. Retire right now.
Yeah, you know what? Calling it now. I quit the arts forever. Can't write anything that good. Oh yeah, I guess I'm really. That's specifically for one person because she deserves it because she introduced me to the magic that is the song. So that was for you, person who I'm mentioning. You know who you are. I don't know if I should say their names, but I think I did earlier. We should probably edit that out just in case.
Okay.
Just in case. So that's an episode. We did it. Wow, it was kind of lengthy, but I'm okay with it. Dear listener, first of all, how are you? How are you holding up? We're here for you, and we love you. Secondly, in those comments below, mention your top Warped Tour bands. You don't have to follow our rules. You can just mention any band that was on Warped Tour that you just happen to like. Just wiki it. That's what we did. Do you agree, disagree with our list? Do you like some of the bands on his list, on my list? Let us know.
Do you hate them all?
Do you just hate music? Do you hate breathing? Don't. And of course, as per usual, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, turn on notifications for when we drop these episodes. Follow us on our socials at Speak Freely Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow me individually at DavidBMusic21, both on Instagram, Twitter. And you can follow Brian at Kuno_stars, also on Twitter and Instagram.
Mhm.
Right? Right?
That is correct.
Ah,
Yeah.
look at our boy. He's learning. All right. And as always, we bid you adieu. And I don't have a tagline. I just have
You got to come up with one.
I just, you know what? My tagline is this. Ready? All right.
All right.
Let's start recording.
So that went longer than